Thank you, Chair. I am moving a motion, and MP Lloyd put the following on motion on notice, and I'm now moving it. And the motion is that given the Department of Agriculture has advised the Penticton Shooting Sports Association that their lease is to be terminated at the end of 2025. The range has operated for 42 years and is essentially not only for recreational shooters, but also for RCMP, BC sheriffs, and cadets who depend on it for training. The planned closure of the range would deprive the community of a safe area where residents can legally and responsibly use their firearms. The proposed divestment of the land has been met with widespread condemnation from the community and the South Okanagan RCMP. The committee called on the government to rescind the divestment plan and this be reported to the House. And I appreciate everyone listening to this extremely personal and important decision that has been made, or that is imminent, hopefully not imminent. It's a deeply personal issue, a decision that will affect our community significantly. This club is, first of all, I want to say we've passed out, there's a handout, but I apologize that there's no translated version to it. Basically, it's a letter from MP Fuhr supporting the club. So this is a club, has a history of 43 years. It's a family club. There at that club, they do safety training, hunter education, youth and cadet training, and family-oriented shooting sports. There have been absolutely no complaints or issues from the local community, ever. They completely coexist. This facility creates connections between law enforcement and the public and youth. Not many clubs are there left anywhere where youth and adults can engage and interact together, and RCMP and youth engage together at this club. I don't know anyone around this table who can think of a club that does that in this day and age. This is going to be a detriment to the local RCMP. There was a public letter sent out from Staff Sergeant Bob Venimaniak to the public telling about the costs that our local municipalities and region are going to have if this club closes down. Right now, you can imagine that the RCMP is the biggest cost for local government, and they'll have to drive now many hours to get to another shooting range in order to practice. The clubhouse and range represent significant investments of time, resources, and community effort that cannot be easily replaced. It's actually in millions of dollars, and through the years that they've built through volunteers. This is all volunteers, clubhouses and archery ranges, and that really support the community. The range has strong ties, as I said, to RCMP, border services, because my riding has 6 border crossings in it, and the border crossing nearest Osoyoos, this is one of the ranges that they use, and it's the nearest range for what they need to practice. Parks Canada, Air Cadets, Scouts, local youth groups, and the hunting community. I think it's important for you to know that, members to know that in a rural area, you don't want people practicing their shooting out in the woods. We have a huge problem in our area with wildfires. We can't have local people practicing out in the woods because it sparks fires, and it also for safety reasons. So that's another reason that we really need to keep this club going. I want to say again that Liberal MP Stephen Fuhr sent a public letter out stating and requesting. He says, and you should have it in front of you. I believe the Penticton Shooting Sports Association has made a strong case for why their continued presence on this side is in the best interest of the community. As such, he says, I very respectfully lend my support to their request for a renewed long-term lease. MP Dan Albus tabled a petition recently, signed by almost 10,000 Canadians, highlighting the vital role that this club provides in education, safety, and training. I believe it's time to reconsider and end this flawed process that no one in the local community is in favor of. No one. It's a case where government needs to leave well enough alone. There's no problem with this club. In fact, it's going to leave a real hole in our community if this lease is ended. So what I ask is that you take this divestment and please extend the lease of the Penticton Shooting Sports Association, and our region will be grateful, and everyone will be grateful if you were to suspend and follow the text of the motion, which calls on the government to rescind the divestment plan, and that this will be reported to the House.
Merci, Madame Konanz. Madame, Monsieur.
Thank you, Ms. Konanz. Mr. Ramsey.
Denying Mrs. Konanz's motion's merit, I think the chair should call the subcommittee to organize agenda at a later date, and with that, I would move to adjourn the debate and move to the budget debate instead.
So that's a motion to adjourn this debate and move to a debate on budgets. So we will now move immediately to a vote. It's a straightforward motion to vote on, I understand. So does the committee agree with that adjournment motion? With Mr. Lloyd?
I believe that dilatory motions are motions that cannot be debated, correct? But because Mr. Ramsey has put a qualifier on the motion, it is now a debatable motion. So I don't believe it would be moving to a vote. I believe it would be open for discussion. So I'd like to put my name on the docket.
Simple motions are easier to understand than more complex motions, and that motion was indeed more complex than the usual dilatory motion, because there was as MP Lloyd correctly stated, there was a move to a second step, which makes the dilatory motion more complex and would be subjected to debate, which is at this point not possible because we're discussing a motion. So we will return to Madame Konanz's motion. Any input on that motion, MP Lloyd?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that. I actually had the pleasure of visiting the Penticton Shooting Sports Association facility just north of Penticton. It's an absolutely beautiful facility. It's extremely functional. You know, the loss of this facility due to this divestment plan would be a huge loss to the community and a loss to the country. And, you know, we live in a much more dangerous world. We've seen with the Russia's invasion of Ukraine and other aspects that we see countries, our allies like Poland, for example, taking real steps to strengthen their civil defense. There was a recent Globe and Mail story that talked about citizens getting more involved and receiving training in firearms. And I know that it's been a topic in the news that the Department of National Defense has put forward a paper where they're considering expanding training to, I think, 300,000 Canadians on civil defense. And I would simply ask that how are we supposed to train these 300,000 Canadians or more in civil defense if we do not have facilities such as the Penticton Shooting Sports Association? We're going to need facilities like this across Canada, not only for training the RCMP, CBSA, for training cadets. We could possibly be needing these facilities for training for civil defense, and I think the government would be making a very costly mistake to divest this facility. And I know that there are good reasons for divestments, but after touring the facility, it's become very clear that you know, this facility is actually right next to a experimental farm that deals in testing for diseases. for plants. And so I don't think that there really is any use for this facility other than being used as a certified firearms range. And so I don't know how this divestment makes any political or economic sense for the government to undertake, and we're losing a tremendously valuable facility. I know MP Konanz, MP Albus, and many others have been champions of this community range. It's not just a community range that promotes, responsible firearms ownership. It's a range that's used by our law enforcement to train. They've written to the government. They've written to this committee, I believe, with their concerns about the closure of this facility. And I think it's incumbent on us to take a look into this and to put forward our opinion as a committee that the closure of this range would be detrimental to public safety. So with that, I'll end my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would echo my colleague's sentiments, and I'll remind the committee, too, that I believe he's still an acting member of our armed forces. So we thank him for his past service we thank him for his past service in the forces and our service, and it's people like him who really do keep us safe. And I think that people like that we need to contemplate. Law enforcement needs this. Perhaps the 57 officers, we don't know whether they're of the new 1,000 officers, but perhaps those 57 people like that would be using this facility. At the end of the day, I think we need to listen to the people on the ground. So I support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I want to tell everyone that there is a letter, and it was made public by MP Fuhrer, who lives in a riding about an hour north of our area, but he totally supports the extension of the lease for this club.
I also want to speak to this motion. Now, I'm not a firearm person, or do I have the hobby of shooting. This is something new to me, but I visited two shooting range, one in Richmond and the other one in Prince George. And I can see that, they serve a very important purpose. Not only that people would have social activities, gatherings in those kind of shooting ranges, and, they also have a place that's safe for them to practice. And I see, that the support and the enthusiasm of the people who are into the sports. Now, I don't know the details of the Penticton situation, but I know that, if we know that there's so many people from different backgrounds, different walks of life, even across different parties, supporting the keeping of this shooting range, I think there's no reason that we should allow this to be closed. So with that, I support the motion.
PSSA, I saw your hand raised.
I'd like to bring a motion to adjourn.
So we are now going to vote on that motion to adjourn the meeting, having heard the earlier comments. So is the committee in support of that motion to adjourn? So we'll have a recorded vote. Mr. Clerk, please.
Mr. Ramsey? Yes. Mr. Asasi?
Yes.
Ms. Akan?
Yes.
Mr. Pulaski? Yes. Mr. Caputo?
No until we vote.
Ms. Kirkland?
No.
Mr. Au?
No.
Ms. Konanz?
No.
Hey, Madame de Bellefeuille?
So we'll just keep the discussion going. So we're back to the motion of Madame Konanz. Madame Kirkland?
Can we call for a vote on the motion that's on the table? Is that possible?
The vote will follow whenever everyone is ready for that. So let's go to a vote on that particular. Madame Akan?
Is the motion open for amendments?
The chair just called for a vote.
Obviously, we can amend
Point of order, Chair. You just called for a vote. I don't know that we can be asking for amendments. You just called for a vote, so I think we need to proceed to the vote.
Yeah, this is a bit. The flow of this is rapid. So, and I understand the challenges that there may be in understanding the interconnection between motions and amendments and adjournment motions. So that's, and as you noticed earlier, I was initially confusing on the move from the witnesses session to the committee business session. So allowing for everyone's understanding is, I believe, the right thing to do. Madame Akan you're asking whether an amendment can be put to a motion, and the answer is yes.
Point of order, Chair. I would challenge the Chair's interpretation there. You had called for a vote.
So
and I
what
believe
challenge?
I'm challenging your decision to allow a amendment when you had called the vote.
So you're challenging so you'd like to move to a vote. Now, moving to a vote is not a motion, not an acceptable motion in a committee. So what exactly are you asking for?
Yes. Well, you had called the vote. You had said we are proceeding to a vote. At that point, I believe that the vote should have occurred or should have commenced. You said we are calling the question essentially, and then an amendment was brought forward. I believe we should be voting because you had called the question at that point.
So I asked whether we wanted to have a vote, and I turned around and I saw that Madame McCann wanted to ask a question on the proceedings, which I understand are a bit complex to follow, and I would believe that members of this committee would deserve a fair chance at making their full participation in this particular meeting. So, Madame McCann, you can proceed with your earlier intervention.
Are we going to just do the amendment, or you challenge the chair? What are we doing right now?
Seconds, and we'll come back.
Yes, thank you.
Could you read the entire motion so I'll know exactly what I'm voting on? Please, Mr. Clerk. The motion has been distributed to all MPs. You have it among your emails. In French, we read that given the government, the Department of Agriculture has advised the Penticton Shooting Sports Association that their lease is terminated at the end of 2025. The range has operated for 42 years and is 42 years, and is essential not only for recreational shooters, but also for the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, British Columbia Sheriffs, and cadets who depend on it for training. The planned closure of the range would deprive the community of a safe area where residents can legally and responsibly use their firearms. The proposed divestment of this land has been met with widespread condemnation from the community and the South Okanagan RCMP. The committee calls on the government to rescind the divestment plan. So what you've read is the motion that we are now voting on, and yes, and then what has been removed is, and that this be reported to the House. Correct. Good. Thank you so much. So we are now debating the amendment to the motion. Does the committee support the amendment and carry it? Good. Then we are now back to the amended motion. Further debate? Is the government in favor of adopting this amended motion? Yes? Yes? Yeah, I see that there is universal support. Very good. Which brings the debate on this motion to a close.